This is UMBC Careers Unleashed, where we unleash stories, insights, and expertise to support you on your career journey. Let's dive in.
What's up, Retrievers? I am your resident career coach, Stephanie Taylor Okoukoni, and I'm here today with my special guest and co-host, Isaiah Dunn.
What's up, y'all?
Yes, and we are here for our premiere episode.
The first one.
Yes, of UMBC Careers Unleashed. Okay, and today in our premiere episode, we are going to be taking you beyond the resume.
Way beyond it.
To infinity.
And beyond.
And beyond, yes. And let me just tell you something, Isaiah, before we introduce you to the people. We have polled a whole bunch of your cohorts. We're giving them cohorts. We're giving big names, big words. And whenever we ask them about what do they think about the Career Center, the first thing they say is resume. Oh, they help you with resumes. Resume. And that is why our premiere episode is taking you beyond the resume, because Career Center does so much more than that.
We got to look beyond it.
Got to go beyond it. It's just a communication document. So without further ado, I want the people to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you from? What brought you to UMBC? That kind of vibe.
Where am I from? What brought me to UMBC?
Mm-hmm.
I am from Baltimore County originally, but I'm from like all over Maryland. I like to say I'm from around the way because like I bounce around from Baltimore County to different parts of Howard County. My parents are from PG County. My dad worked in DC for a while, so I did a lot of driving back and forth from Baltimore to DC, from Howard County to DC. Yeah. So I've been all over the DMV, really, honestly, everywhere except for Virginia. No shade to Virginia, but.
Right, so it's like just the DM, not the DMV. Well, listen, we're not gonna play Virginia. It's a wonderful Commonwealth.
Yeah, they ate that. Y'all did your big one.
Exactly. So you from around the way. I like that. So before we get into our official part of the episode, there's this little segment that I want to slide in here called Career Controversy.
Okay, word.
Okay, well, we're going to take air quotes on professional, right? We might have to get rid of that word. We might have to cancel the word professional at some point. But where we're doing a career hot take.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what I want to know, today's controversy is resume. Should it be limited to one page or nah?
I'm gonna go with one page. I think resumes need to be one page, always one page, and the only exception is really based on your career. If you have let's say a STEM field, I would say front and back. You should have you could do a little cute front and back.
So, but why one page? Why is it one page? Is you standing on one page? Why one page?
I'm gonna stand on one page, and I'm gonna stick with one page because people don't have that much time anymore.
Okay.
And even if they do have time, they're gonna act like they don't.
Who doesn't have time? The people who write
the big bosses.
Okay.
The big cheeses up in their little castles when they send a stack of resume up with a squire and they put it on their big desk at the lodge, and when they're reading that resume, they act like they don't have time to read it. They have time to read it, but they don't really want to read that full page. Nobody really wants to sit there and go through multiple different pages of resumes. They really just want to read your first thing, see what you got, and then throw it in the trash because that's all they do.
But if you're in the STEM field, you saying front and back, that means 2 pages. Why STEM?
Because STEM people usually have more to prove and more to I feel because me, I'm a humanities guy.
Okay.
I when I'm giving out my resume, they really just want the bullet points. They really just want what I've done recently that is field specific. For some people, they have a lot. They got a lot going on, and they've done so much that it's it makes sense for you coming out of college. Now, when we're talking industry wide, I think I might be amenable to a change on that.
Okay, but you are saying that the majority of folks for conventional jobs the one page. That's where
one page.
Let me tell you something. Yesterday, I saw a 27-page.
What?
It wasn't a resume though. It was a CV.
Okay, that's different.
But 27 pages is wild.
That's insane.
Wild.
27 pages.
I was like,
You give me a 27-page resume and I'm somebody's boss. I'm sorry. I'm burning that thing.
I'm done.
I'm throwing that away like a Frisbee.
And the thing is, some of it was like, I'm not gonna call it fluff.
Right.
But it was fluff.
It was fluff.
I was like, listen, well, we're just listing out places that we've been. Like we just have countries on here.
Right.
Point. Like what?
Oh, and I went to France.
Yeah, France.
And you should
Germany,
know I definitely went to France and I had a great time.
Djibouti. Like it was just really, that was excessive. Now I will say it was a CV, right? We're not even going to get into that.
Right.
But I think in the context of CV world and academia, that is not unusual. But
okay.
My attention span.
It's not long enough for me to be reading 27 pages. That's a novel.
After the first 2 pages, I was done. Now here's my thing. My resume is definitely not 1 page, and it's never going to be again.
Okay.
Because of where I am probably in my career and what I want to express. I think that what you said is very valid though.
Okay.
Like 1 page, like what else? Nobody has time for that. That's exactly what I experienced with that 27 pager. Here's what I'll say, right? Like I have 2 pages because it is hard for me at this point to make it into 1 page.
You're also a pro at this. You do this for like a living, low key. Like.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know what I mean. I can't at this point.
Right.
But here's what I'll say, right? For our collegiate and undergrad audience, you don't have to put everything that you've ever done forever on your resume, right? So like the first page is ultimately, in my opinion, the most important.
Right.
You want to grab the attention of the audience. If you are going to give them more than 1 page, why should they go to your second page, right? And then if, for example, you're applying for something that is, let's say computer science based, mm-hmm. and you're giving me your volunteerism at the top of the page, and your volunteerism, irrelevant. You were helping, bore water holes in Indonesia or something like right. That's not, I need on that first page.
It was very sweet of you to do that, but it does not need to go on your resume for your comp sci degree.
Or maybe if you just have to add it, that's something that could go later
on,
like later down.
It's like when you're when you're on YouTube and you're scrolling through and you want to see what video you want to watch. You're not clicking the dry YouTube videos where they just like have a picture of a leaf in the background. You want the one with the person's face going like this.
Exactly.
So you have something to draw the person in. So that's what your resume needs to give, gagged and like crazy. It's gotta pull the people in.
So I think here's where I stand. 2 things, and I'm going to be controversial. It is, if you are a traditional college student, I feel like you can do it in 1 page.
You can.
If you are now, if you've been all around the world and you've done study, I think most traditional college students, right, who've come into college straight from high school can probably do it in 1 page.
Right.
But I'm not going to say if you just have something you really need to get off your chest, right? You want the people to know.
You have to know.
It has to be value adding, right? If you're going to go beyond 1 page, it's got to be value adding.
And what does value adding mean?
It means that if I read it, it doesn't, you're not telling me what your favorite color is.
Right.
Like, don't take me to the second page to be like, I like butterflies and I paint on the weekends.
Can you give an example of what like a good value adder is?
Something that would be value adding. Okay. If you are, and I'm just going to stick with inside of computer science, right? And let's say you've done a lot of things in the classroom, so you want to add your projects in there, and then you've had maybe 1 or 2 internships or volunteer, and then let's say that carries you over into the second page, and then maybe you participated in a hackathon, right? A hackathon, right, because you are a computer science major, is value adding. Right now, if it's only 1 sentence on the second page, now we might have to think about some formatting. How can we shift it to get it on there? But I'm just saying that something that would potentially be value adding would be if you are a computer science major and you participated in a hackathon. Even though that might not be the premier experience that you want to like put at the top of your document, it still is relevant.
Right.
Is relevant.
Right.
That would be it. And so I'm not narrowing it down to computer science, but like, for example, if I were the student, if I were the person writing the resume, I would think to myself, does what I'm adding, what I'm wanting to type down here, is it making me more credible?
Right.
And showing my experience in a way that makes me more valuable for the person for this job.
Right.
That would be what value adding is. Is it relevant? Is it relevant? All right. So now let's get down to business. What is your major, my friend?
I am currently a political science major. I'm a rising junior as of recording this.
Okay. Rising junior, big junior.
I'm technically in the pre-law society, so that's interesting. I don't know. It's not going to show on the document that they give me or anything, but it's part of who I am.
So you're a PoliSci major.
Yes.
Rising junior PoliSci major. Now, what brought you to that decision? Like, what were the things that informed that for you? Like, oh, PoliSci is the way to go.
A lot of it has to do with how I grew up. I think I grew up watching the news a lot. I grew up in a politically conscious household.
Okay.
I grew up with grandparents who were very my grandparents were slaves, I believe, and they wanted me to know everything, your existence is political.
Okay.
Everything that happens is political. Everything in this world is political, and if you don't care about politics, you need to care about politics. That's they're like, you have to care. Yeah, you have to care. That was like my whole childhood was like work, life and politics being breathed into me all of the time.
Right.
So it was kind of like a natural decision when I saw that.
So tell me, give me an example how going to the mall is political. Like everything is political. Like tell me, because
going to the mall is so political.
Okay.
People your attention is money, right?
Okay.
And money is politics. Mm-hmm. So the mall didn't just show up there. A group of people had to approve the mall to be built in that specific spot.
Okay.
Tons of people fought it out politically to get to be able to be the people to build the mall there.
Okay.
So they were out there basically in this bidding war against your county council members.
Okay.
And they're sitting there arguing in front of each other for millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, just upping the price. Okay. In front of these county council members, flashing money in front of their face, saying, we want to be the people to develop on this land.
Okay.
Let us develop on this land. Let us cut down these trees and develop on this land.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So the mall itself, being able to tear down all this land, put down all this pavement, put down all this concrete, and say people will now park their cars here. That is a political thing to do.
Okay.
Then you don't even want to get into the shops that show up there, all of that stuff, and how those companies work with politicians to get their stores in places.
Wow. Listen, I would have never in my whole entire life thought about that. That was illuminating. That was eye-opening. So now tell me, okay, so everything is political. You got to care about it. Watching the news with your grandparents.
Sitting there booted up with my little coffee, feeling like I'm an adult.
Absolutely. And so you come to UMBC, you're majoring in PoliSci. Now let's say, right, of course, the world is a big world. But if you could wave the proverbial magic wand, right? You could wave that magic wand. What would be the career that you are preparing yourself for, right? If you could graduate from UMBC and then step into the next opportunity, role, job, what would that thing be?
Hop into, I don't know. I'm shuffling my way into the darkness and I really have no idea where I'm going.
Okay, right. That's real. That's valid.
But
that's valid.
I want to say I am preparing myself for multiple careers.
Okay.
Because I don't want to ever hold myself down to one thing. I think I'm way too talented to give myself just one option for life to go down. I'm a musician. I care about music very deeply. I care about art very deeply.
Okay.
I'm also very legally focused. I care about the law. I care about just understanding the law, and I have a passion for understanding how we set up these legal systems and how we put systems in place.
Okay.
I have a big flair for public policy.
Okay.
I love public policy. I love seeing things like that get executed at a small level, and I love seeing it at a national a national level too. So I don't feel like I really have to in the 21st century, honestly. I don't think I have to focus on one career yet.
I got you.
I don't feel like I'm at that place. Even as a junior in college, I still don't feel like I'm at a place where I have to be okay, this is the career I want. Now, does that mean I'm going just like willy-nilly off into the forest, like, and like not focused on like anything specific at all. No, I am preparing to go to law school.
Okay.
I am doing different like activities that like relate to like the field that I want to do. I'm in mock trial.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making the music that I want to make. I'm promoting myself as an artist.
Okay.
I'm executing 100% into all the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm not focused on like a end goal career wise. That was long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, that wasn't. No, that's real. That's real because there were so many things in that, right? And I'm giving me a second to like digest it because there were so many nuggets in there. What you shared, one, is that you chose a major based on the influence of kind of like your upbringing, you know, like your culture, your grandparents, elders, people whose voices and opinions that you value, right? And because those values were inside of you, you were like, I probably would be good at this or interested in this. So political science gives you the ability to kind of learn how systems, governmental systems, and all those things are built, and you want to understand that. Then you mentioned law school in there, right?
Right.
But then there were some things that you said on the fringes. You were like, oh, okay, but you know, I'm also interested in music. I am producing. But then you also mentioned mock trials, right? So it's like, okay, you pick this major, and maybe like the professional, air quotes again,
right,
track is law school, and however that blossoms or develops. But then you also have these other interests that you are still pouring into. So I heard some great nuggets in there. So I want to put a pin in it because we're like taking folks beyond the resume.
Right.
Right. And so what you said to me, even though it was in your own words, that is a resume, right? It's like, what, you know? So let's say, for example, from your perspective, okay, now, we are preparing, let's say we're just going to put the music on the side, and we can even address that at a later point. But like, let's say, for example, your law school application requires a resume. What are we putting on there? What are you putting on it?
First thing, definitely all of my internships that I've done that have been policy focused. Okay. I think because that will probably be my focus in law school.
Name drop. Where have these internships been? I feel like this is getting ready to get real prestigious.
It's not.
Okay.
Spoiler warning. It really isn't. I did work as a legislative intern for my county councilwoman. Okay. For a summer. That was a like amazing experience. Shout out Council Chairwoman Rigby.
Okay.
I also most recently was working with the political science department at the school. Okay. On our DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility task force, our student task force for that. Okay. So that's what those are the two like policy focused jobs that I've like gotten a chance to get at. Okay. And then everything else really, like I'm a business owner. For my music, I do like I have like a small like collective. We're not even like a record label anymore. Like we took away the record label name. We're a collective of artists who like help manage and produce other artists and help like manage their visions for them. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I would. What
about your mock trial? Is that not going on there?
Mock trial is definitely going on there. Okay. I'm an award-winning witness for the UMBC mock trial team. Yes, award-winning. We don't do like rankings or anything. Okay. It means a lot to a very small group of people. But like I've won at the highest level that you can possibly win at. I'm an All-American witness for the UMBC mock trial team. Okay. And then are there things, and this is something that I have experienced as the resident career coach. Okay. A lot of times there are students who maybe are not as far along in their like degree progression. So like if they're not a junior yet, or even if they are a junior or senior or even an alum, right, a recent alum, that sometimes they haven't necessarily had the ability to have those internships. And so they're kind of trying to figure out what they should put on their resume. And my go-to is, well, you came to UMBC to get experience and exposure for the job. So you can use things that you've done even in your classroom setting. Right. Are there things that you've done like even in your coursework that you're like, this really prepared me for something? I've done like, I think like spotlighting some of my poly classes would be like a smart choice.
Like,
to
so
do.
what's a project or an assignment that you've done in like a PoliSci class?
I've done so many.
So many.
so many. I think looking at the research that like we've been able to look at, like being able to get research, analyze it. Shout out to Dr. Grodsky, talking specifically about his politics of disasters course. I forget the number. But we'd get like a research paper every week, or multiple research papers every week about a different political disaster. And you'd have to scan it, read through the whole thing, and write I think like it wasn't that many pages, like 5-page essay every week, double spaced. It wasn't crazy. And then we'd have discussion about that in class. So the thing that was like really interesting about that is it taught my brain how to process like large amounts of information very, very quickly. And that ties into other jobs that I've had. Like when I was working for Council Chairwoman Rigby, I was able to look at these legal documents and look at these like bills and and be able to read through them very quickly and splice up the information and get like, what is this bill talking about? Why is it important to me? Why should I care about it? Like very, very fast, which is really important to politicians.
Got you. You know what? While I'm listening to you, right, I hear a courageousness, like a braveness, like a belief in yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, for sure. Because it's like, okay, being, let's just say, under 25 and being bold enough to access these opportunities. Like sometimes people maybe feel small or feel inexperienced. Tell me what, and you may have never even thought about it this way before, but I think what was the thing that emboldened you to say, I can do this?
This is crazy because my whole life I struggled with confidence issues.
Okay.
Like my whole life up until I would say freshman year of college, I struggled with these issues of just like constant self-loathing, constant like just like anger and like sadness with myself.
Okay.
The thing that really like I didn't have that. I just did it. Because I felt like it needed to be done. Like I felt like it was like, Isaiah, you have to move. Or like or you'll stay stagnant. Like you can't stay stagnant. Like if we stay, it's like move or die.
Okay.
Like it's do or die. Like, and you have to kind of have that attitude. Like that's how I built my self-confidence, was by getting in the door, because I was like, oh, well, what if I get in the door and like, I'm not ready and I'm not prepared. And I was like, you just have to get in the door.
So what I hear you saying is you did it scared.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's the thing people will often say. It's like, well, what do you do when you're nervous? Or, like, and a lot of folks will say that the nervousness or the fear didn't go away. I just did it. You just did it scared. Tell me, how did you get awareness around the opportunity with your county councilwoman?
How did I even find out about that? Networking.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is like one of my favorite stories to tell.
Okay.
Megan Lynch, who was I forget the name of the type of professor that she was, but she was a professor here at the school. She taught the base, like Poly 100 class. And I was in her course and I loved her course. I loved how she taught her course. So shout out to you. And I really needed a job. I was looking everywhere for summer jobs in politics and I couldn't find any. And I knew she worked for my county councilman. And I was like, okay, well, I know you work in his office. Do you know any jobs that are like similar to that, like that I could possibly work at? I sent her like a desperation email, shot in the dark. And she emailed me back and was like, yeah, I do. And she hooked me up with the the person who was in charge of like all of the county council chairwoman's staff. So she put me in touch with her, and then we like hit it off from there. I did like a short little interview process about like what it's like to work there. And I got the job.
So your professor in this case was the plug,
was
right?
the huge plug.
I love
was
that.
the catalyst for me like being able to get that job. Yeah.
I love that. So now we've got internships. You mentioned mock trial. I know you are busy.
I'm very
What
busy.
are the other things? What are the other things that you're doing while you're here at UMBC, like outside of the classroom space? Like, what are maybe like some other jobs or things that you're involved in? You're involved in this podcast right now, but like,
right.
Tell us.
I'm doing this podcast. I'm also an RA. I'm a residential assistant.
Okay.
So that takes up a lot of my time, caring for my residents, taking care of the floor, making sure everybody is safe and happy and feels comfortable and like feels like they're in community with one another is something that is also something that I like feel dedicated to. Like another, like making sure people feel like together and in community with one another is something that I think I just care about deeply. I don't know where that came from. Like, honestly, I can't like point that to something, but yeah, that's something that I deeply, deeply care about.
RA. Now here we're getting ready to like really be beyond the resume.
Right.
We're ready to be really beyond the resume right now. So here's the thing, right? Like that is from my perspective, right? And I don't know if I'm trying to think. I had a good friend of mine who was an RA when I was in college, when I was an undergrad. I don't think I ever aspired to be an RA though. I felt like that job was so huge.
It's
like
hard.
It had perks, but the thing is, it cultivates so many skills.
It does
for someone. So now this is kind of like jumping outside the box a little bit from what we were talking about before. Like, you know, you don't have to put everything on your resume. You want to curate it to the audience, right? But I think something that's so essential, so maybe essential is not the right word, so awesome. Maybe that's it. Like such an awesome experience. Even if you were applying for something that was like law school, or if you wanted to be like a policy analyst, right? If that was like a junior policy analyst or something, an entry level position that was not necessarily directly related to higher education or residence life or anything like that, I still think that RAs and your duties there would be valuable.
100%. And it's on my resume.
Okay.
Like,
it's definitely.
It's 100% on that resume.
Yeah.
Because you get so much experience working with people. I think like the biggest thing being an RA gets you is that peer-to-peer level work that you do. So you manage conflict. Okay. You are a manager of conflict. So you get like all those HR things, like you're doing an HR job essentially. Okay. You're managing paperwork for the events that you do. You're throwing events. Okay. You're decorating. It's much like being a teacher where you have to do all these jobs and you wear so many different hats all under one position.
Yes. You know what? And I'm gonna put a technical term on that. Transferable skills. Transferable skills,
yes.
Meaning you can take, so for example, if you are in law school and you are a professional student at that point, you're a professional student now. Right. But that being able to multitask, being able to prioritize, being able to handle situations with care. Right now we're talking in terms of legality, but like confidentiality, right? Like if something goes on the floor, you can't. So all of these things throughout the course of your life are going to never cease to be valuable or important. Right. And you may, for the purposes of a resume, you might like phrase it a certain way, you know, or you might clue into a part of your work, right? That's like really, depending on what you're applying for, might be very important, or you want to shine a light on that part of the work. But something like that, something that's such a huge and awesome and multifaceted job and role, I think that deserves a spot on the resume.
And it has one.
I'm sure it does. Now let's keep talking, right? Like, so let's say now, you know, we're taking you into your future. You graduate. You out of here. You out of here. You are in the great beyond. Right. Right. You're in the great beyond. When do you think that your RA ship, if that were a word, your RA ship, your role as an RA, when do you think does that stay on the resume forever?
Forever? No, because eventually you gain different experiences that like will class it out, you know?
Okay.
Like, and when I list in my skills section, like skills that I have, conflict mediation will always be on there.
Okay.
So a piece of it, right? Like the transferable skills that you mentioned will always be on that resume and under like the skill section that you have, if you have a skill section. Like that's always going to be a part of it. And I learned it at that job, and it'll live forever, like on my LinkedIn or something like that. But like on my official resume, I'm not going to print it on there.
Yeah, I like that. Your word for it was that it classes it out. It's like eventually there are things that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are things that you will do that will make that not necessarily as important to shine a light on.
Exactly. Like I used to work at a grocery store, but that I don't think so. Isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's not on my resume anymore.
Like, oh, let me double check. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't got the document pulled up.
Exactly. You want to pull out the Carfax on it? Like, I don't know. But yeah, but parts of it.
Right.
I love that you were saying like the conflict management part of it, like that there are things, the transferable skills that you acquire while doing that work. The thing that will live, the skill set that it developed in you will always live on your resume in some way. But the fact that you were a resident assistant in the year 2023, 2024 doesn't necessarily have to be showcased. Which brings us to another point about resumes. It's like it's not a comprehensive document.
Exactly.
Right? Like it doesn't have to have every single thing that you've ever done on there. Like, oh, I scraped the gum off of the sidewalk, one summer. I mean, maybe that might be something you want to mention if you were like trying to apply for the Peace Corps or something like that. You had this volunteerism position. So we talked about like when we're saying value adding, like is it relevant? But we also, when you were talking about that classing out part, another thing that I like to highlight is it recent?
Is it recent?
Is it recent? And sometimes I think we have to take an evaluation process, right? Like there are some things that aren't recent that are very relevant.
Right.
Right? Like, so for example, if you were, let's say you went to law school and you were like, man, this is not it. Like, I don't know what these people are doing. They all going to jail. No, I'm just kidding. No, they all going to jail. But like, you were like, you know what? I need a break from this for a moment. And you decided that you wanted to go work in higher ed.
Right.
Right? Maybe even back here at UMBC.
Spooky.
You might mention on your resume at some point, at least give it some, some recognition that at one point you were an RA.
Right.
Even though it may not be so recent, but because of the relevance, you might pop it in there.
Right.
So that, and that's why I say beyond the resume, because it's not like a formula. That's another thing I've experienced. Tell me a little bit about this. I don't want to, be ageist, but I would assume you are Gen Z.
I am Gen Z, yeah.
Tell me about your cohorts, your friends, your UMBC. Sometimes I feel like, and maybe is it like, not I can't say that. I want to say it right because I want to care for people. That's important to me. But like sometimes I experience student appointments and students where they're like really prescriptive. Like, tell me what is the right thing. What is the A plus B equals C? What is the 1, 2, 3 on my resume that's going to give me a job?
And we're so used to that as Gen Z because like everyone, there's always like the top 10 list. There's always like they've been selling that to us since we were kids. Like, like we grew up with BuzzFeed. We grew up with like these different YouTube channels, like pumping this different stuff of like, this is how you do this one thing. And like, I think that a lot of us are missing the fact that like, you don't have to do it this one way but we're so and it's not just Gen Z. I don't think this is an isolated Gen Z problem. I think we see this in millennials too. And I think we also see it a little bit in Gen X where it's like, it has to be done this way. It's always been done this way. Why would I not do it this way? And like, like this is the right way to do certain things.
Because we want to win.
Right.
You want the job.
Yeah.
Like that's the point.
And I think it's very human. It's very human to want to ask that question and ask like, yo, like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, that's not getting me this thing. How can I specifically go in and get what I want? Because we're goal-oriented people.
I got you. So tell me, and I wanna pull out the whole 2024 of it all. Gotta talk about AI.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, not only AI in developing the resume, but I think also folks now, everybody is concerned about AI in evaluating their resume. Like so what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it makes it so that those goal-oriented fears become true.
Expand.
So it's like
that's a big concept there.
So like what I was just talking about, where we are so concerned with, like, oh, am I doing this the right way? It makes it so that there is a right way, because now you put an algorithm into it, right?
Okay.
You're telling this algorithm, these are the specific things that we have to look for. And these people, if they don't meet these specific things, the AI will remove your resume from the other pool of applicants and like throw it in the trash. So it's like, how do I make sure my resume gets through to a human being? That fear is like, I have to do it right. I have to do it right. I have to do it right. Otherwise it's not going to get through but so we're getting like conflicting information.
Yeah.
We're getting these conflicting messages of like, be yourself, be true to yourself, show yourself on this document, but also hit all of these like random, like kind of like pulled out of a hat requirements and make sure you hit them correctly. Otherwise your resume is not going to be seen by a human being at all to relate to you being yourself.
I got you. Do you hold those concerns?
I do. I look at my resume, and because initially, like my first resume, it's horrible. It was like I made it in high school, and in like
have you
English
been
class.
to the Career Center to have your resume reviewed?
Yes, I have.
For sure.
You should all go do it. Anyone listening should go to, and it not even just at UMBC. If you go to school at Towson, you should go to your career center and have them review your resume, or come to ours. I don't know if they can do that.
No,
they can't.
They definitely can't. But wherever they go to school, I mean, I can't speak for every university, but it is a standard that there's a career center or support there. So
get that resume reviewed. But like, yeah, on my first resume, I think I was too human. I think I put too much of myself into the document to the point where I didn't even want to edit it, because I was like, oh, this is just who I am. You know, high schoolers, like, this is just who I am. Like, I'm not changing it. Like, my mom was like, you don't want to, like, sweetie, you don't want to change that a little bit? I was like, no, mom, like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch this document. It looks perfect. This is me.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem when you have like a computer to now like assessing it. One, two, that document needs to be changed.
You know what though? You touched on something that's really, I think, valid and important, right? Like that sometimes even all of us, that we conflate like who we are in the essence of, you know, like what we find important holistically.
Right.
And if you want to pour that onto the page, but is that going to get you the outcome? Like, and does that diminish, you know, like the fact that you are a producer and that you enjoy music and that you rap, because you share that with me, right? But like, is that going to move the needle forward in this arena? And so having to make that decision, like, am I going to put that on here or not?
It's a part of myself. It's a part of myself that I share with like everyone in my life and everyone that I care about. So it's like, do I want to ignore that part of myself? And like, that feels like I'm doing myself a disservice almost. Like, it feels like I am purposefully ignoring a huge part of who I am in the pursuance of a goal. Yeah. And that's like morality wise, like not something that like I always want to do.
Yeah, I got you. Here's what I would say about that right now. And this is our key, our code word, right? We have this idea around like sage advice. And of course, we just having a conversation. I'm definitely not a sage of any kind. But like, if I were to give some sage advice, if I was going to be sagey for a minute, right? Like, what I think is, if you are in pursuit of getting access into law school, it doesn't necessarily diminish, right? Like that you are a skilled artist and you can produce music and you have this creative flair. But if your desire is to move the needle forward in this area, then we just, the same way how we're deciding what's value adding, we're just choosing to shine a light on a specific thing.
Right. It's not subtractive. It's additive in a different way. It's so additive that it ended up knocking off one other thing.
So here's where I'm gonna wrap up with the people, you know, because I don't want to keep them here forever and ever and ever, go on forever. Here's what I'll say, right, is that we talked about the structure, right? Things that you're doing, experiences and exposures that you're getting inside and outside of the classroom. We talked about internships. We talked about on-campus jobs, right? Because you're an RA. We talked about transferable skills and all these things, how they can, those are the things that are you, right? And we are just using this document that we call a resume to communicate those things.
Right.
Now, we want to get into like the technicality and the structure and like where they should go, because it's not necessarily formulaic, but there is a way to do it that makes you more likely and more attractive to an employer. For that purpose, you already told your friends, come to the Career Center.
Come to the Career Center.
We've got like tons of resources, and this is a shameless plug, right? This is a shameless advertisement, but we have a digital version of the Career Guide, but we also have the physical books, and inside of there's like tons and tons of resources.
So much information.
Tons of them. But there are like sample resumes, there are sample cover letters, and so there are things that we can do to help folks to kind of get that technical aspect of the work together. So we're so grateful. We're so excited. This is our first episode. We're so hype about it. Beyond the resume, I feel like I'm cool. I don't know. Am I cool, Isaiah?
You're cool.
I'm like no pressure, right? Like sometimes you're like, I don't want to go in there. Can we text them? Can I email them? Can I just send them my resume? You can, and we have options for virtual appointments and all of that. But like any way it goes, I really feel like that. Maybe not like a big sister. I might not be everybody's big sister, but like I feel like that I am somebody who you can come to. There's no judgment. Like your resume can be in shambles,
right?
And we got you. We have you. We got you covered.
When that red line starts going through your lines, like your different resume lines, it doesn't even feel bad. Okay, trust.
I don't even use that. That is really punitive. I don't even use that. I don't even do that. So. In all we say all of that to say, I say all of that to say, or I just say that's whack. Don't say that. No, I'm just kidding. But I say all of that to say we appreciate y'all. We want you to come into the Career Center, check out our website, check out our Instagram page, and that's it. Peace. Bye y'all.
Good.
I was like, at one point, I was like, I need to know where we are time-wise. I think I need a clock.